Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in tonight with your man about town, Petty Murphy, reporting to you live from the back of the classroom here at Akata News Network. So tonight we're actually going to be checking in with our man in the field, Nap Turner in Somaliland, Minnesota, and we're going to get their take on what's going on in the Twin Cities right now. So one moment, ladies and gentlemen, because we have breaking news. Yeah, what's cracking? So yeah, we're going to start off today. We're going to check out a few clips. Then I'll double back and I'll drop my 2 pennies on it. All right?
Most of the people that we meet, especially African Americans, they don't even know their fathers. They don't even know their fathers. It was all of them, most of them were the product of one night stand. One night stand. They will tell you, I don't know my father. Well, who named you? Whose name are you carrying? Well, my mother chose his name for me. I don't know. Is that what we want for our ummah? No. كلهم أو معظمهم أبناء الزنا. أبناء الزنا. Why? Because man, he has to give up the seed. And because the marriage will limit them, they will go from one to another to a third. You know, subhanallah, it's one of the African American brothers.
Somalia is the worst country to be a girl. Not only do 99% of young girls undergo FGM, but 45% are forced into marriage before the age of 18 years old. 10% of girls are forced into marriage before the age of 15. Somalia is a patriarchal society where the rape of girls is celebrated rather than condemned. Somali women have few to no social and legal rights. Despite Somalia receiving millions in aid from the international community, it has failed to implement legislation to protect young girls. Somalia's lower house of parliament ratified the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child last week. The charter prohibits marriage under the age of 18. Somali women welcome the steps taken by the government and urge the upper house of parliament to approve the charter and for the president to sign it into law.
AG's office, they've already filed an appeal, which means the Minnesota Court of Appeals will review this, which could take months. And while that drags on, U.S. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she's openly admitting her allegiance is not with the United States of America.
waan ahay gabar Mareykanka laga doortay oo Congress-ka Mareykanka ku jirto laakiin waxaan ahay gabar Soomaaliyeed gabar idinku jinsi ah gabar idinku af ah gabar idinku diin ah oo ahade qof iyadoo da'yar wadankeedii laga kaxeeyay wili xiise u qabto in maalin wadankeedii ay ku noolaato oo dadkeedii wax ay la wadaagto marka alxamdulillah waxaan rajaynayaa aniga iyo ilmahayga in aan hadde ku barbaariyo iyagana ilmahooda ay ku barbaariyaan dhulkii aniga aan ku soo koray taasna haddii ay suurtagelayso waa hadde shaqo badan inaan wada qabanaa hadduu ilaahay yiraahdo.
I guarantee you she's the ringleader in a lot of this. I mean, she openly admits she doesn't see herself as American at all, but as Somali. And actually says she wants to move back home to raise her kids there. So tell me, how on earth are we letting someone who rejects America represent the very people she refuses to call her own? And it doesn't stop there. Every major Somali fraud ring is targeting Minnesota and by extension, every single taxpayer in this country. This is the consequence of letting a culture that is built on corruption, violence, and piracy take root on American soil. And now, tragically, the next generation of Somali Americans is picking up the same destructive habits right here at home. They're already the most welfare-dependent immigrant group in the U.S., and they've been caught stealing $300 million in COVID relief funding that was meant for hungry children. Now, their latest scheme targets Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services program, which is supposed to help seniors and addicts find housing. But the program's rules were so loose that fraud exploded. Take a look at this. Costs went from $2.6 million in 2020 to $104 million in 2024. Already this year, they're at $61 million in just 6 months, meaning they're on track to hit $122 million if that trend continues. And why? Because 6 people are accused of defrauding HSS, and they're all members of the Somali community. But this just gets worse. Watch this.
If we take a look at Minnesota's federally funded autism program. Now, several people, and this is an example, a woman in the Somali community, are co-conspirators, and they're accused of recruiting kids for autism therapy. They brought in families, had them convinced to get their kids diagnosed as autistic. In fact, these families ultimately ended up having various social services bid for their children, competing with the number size of check that they would get. It didn't matter if the kids had autism. And what happened? Autism claims to Medicaid surged. In 2018, $3 million. By 2023, listen here, from $3 million.
sheekhay shalay waxaa jirta fiidow sanado life ku jira ka duway soo dhigay oo dhaysid yani gabar yar raba oo dooqiga ah gabdhii marka aad bay ku socayeen maxaa arintaas ka leedahay dambi maada galnaa eegiga ku gafaayay sheekh
maxaan aniga gabaraan rabaa daa ma sabbi
ayam waxay
dambi aan gaar
waa may
to $400 million. Autism providers jumped from 41 to 328 in 5 years. Now, City Journal reports that the Somali fraud rings send a lot of money back to Somalia. 40% of households in Somalia get remittances from abroad. That totals $1.7 billion. That is more than the entire budget of the Somali government. Money being sent abroad, from abroad, back to Somalia. Where is that money going? Take a look at this. Most alarmingly, a lot of that money is funneled through money traders, and in the end, ends up in the hands of al-Qaeda-linked Islamic terror group Al-Shabaab. So to bring this full circle, the Minnesota taxpayers are funneling money through fraudulent autism claims back to Somalia, where that money lands in the accounts of Al-Shabaab.
We are importing people from other countries who openly despise us, and they're shamelessly exploiting our generosity, our kindness, our willingness even to help at every turn. And then what do? They scam, rob, and they defraud us without hesitation or remorse. These people, as Ilhan Omar herself has made crystal clear, are not here because they love America or want the American dream or even cherish our way of life. No, they're here to funnel wealth back to their homeland while actively undermining and sabotaging ours. And watch this. As we saw previously, when speaking in front of her own community, Ilhan Omar says she wants to go back to Somalia. But when speaking to Americans, she says this.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. So not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
Last I checked, stealing COVID relief funds and illegally grifting millions under the fake banner of autism charities is not helping this country thrive. Your actions are the polar opposite of your sanctimonious rhetoric, which means you cannot be trusted, period. ICE, they need to round up every single one of these people and deport them. No excuses, no delays. Get them out of our country if they're here illegally. Now, another crisis crushing our great nation, the open war that radical leftist judges have declared on the American people, releasing violent career criminals right back onto our streets to rape, rob, and even murder again. President Trump, he seized the moment and called out the rogue judges that are responsible for the release of the man who recently lit a woman on fire on a Chicago train.
They burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times. 72 times, think of that. And they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again.
He's 100% right. This monster has 72 arrests.
shalay Soomaaliya waxay u ahayd maalin mugdiya maalin madow ah shalay baarlamaanka wuxuu u soo saaray ama uu go'aan ku gaaray wax la aqbali kara ma aha annaga muslim baan nahay boqol muslim baan nahay Soomaali Ilaahay laga cabsado arintan arinka hortag u baahan waaye aabay culimadeena Soomaaliyeed aabay culimadeena Soomaaliyeed وارث الأنبياء باتهين إذن كان هذا المقلنا محل عي محل لوجو أمسني هاي أرنتان aaway sheekh sumow aaway ma noola miyaa aaway sheekh shaakir ma noola miyaa war aaway culimmadeena ilaahay ka cabsano war ilaahay ka cabsano ilaahay u laabano sheekh maxamed macalin abshir aaway sheekh nuur cali jimcaale aaway war ilaahay ka cabsano sheekh cabdirasaaq ashari aaway war ilaahay ka cabsano war ilaahay ka cabsano arrintan arrin la aqbali kara maaha dadkan waana rogayaan ilaahay ka cabsano war ilaahay aan ka cabsano ilaahay aan ka cabsano arrimahan laga hortago arrima la aqbali karo ma aha 18 sano gaalay u qoran tahay caruurtooda ku qaangaaraan annaga inaan ku raacno ma aha nabiga sallallahu alayhi wasallam khaalifal mushrikiin buu na faray inaan mushrikiinta khilaafnaana la faray ilaahay aan ka cabsano war ilaahay aan ka cabsano war ilaahay aan ka cabsano
on his record. And thanks to liberal judges, he's basically got a hall pass to commit more crimes. And Mayor Brandon Johnson, he's not even pretending to hide it. He's out here lecturing us that locking up violent criminals is racist.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that. And we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
Murderous thugs, they belong behind bars, period. They should not be roaming the streets terrorizing innocent people, no matter what their race or gender is. Accountability, it's not racist. It's basic common sense, and yet countless liberal activist judges act like that's optional. This isn't justice. It's a public safety disaster. Now here's Judge Teresa Molina Gonzalez. She is the judge responsible for releasing Lawrence Reed after 72 arrests. And as President Trump said, he is the monster who poured gasoline on that innocent woman riding the train in Chicago and then lit her on fire. Now she remains in critical condition. Our thoughts and prayers are with her and her family. This didn't have to happen. That's what is so infuriating about all of this. Now, the reason Reed was walking Chicago streets freely in the first place is because this judge let him go despite a pending case for allegedly knocking out a female social worker. The prosecutor warned her that he was dangerous. Heck, a mental hospital released him because he was a safety risk. And this judge's response at that detention hearing was, quote, "I can't put everyone behind bars just because the state attorney asked me to." She should be fired immediately. Ask my husband, a lieutenant in law enforcement. He tells me what's predictable is preventable. And 72 arrests prove just that. Here's a video of the judge openly admitting she used to make prosecutorial decisions based on race.
Being a Latina in the office, people would tell me, like, don't you feel like you're prosecuting your own people? But it's true. There were a lot of, defendants that look like me. However, I had a chance as a prosecutor to make a difference as to what cases come in. I had a chance as a prosecutor to decide what offers were appropriate. And so I always offer them the opportunity to do community service.
Anyone who thinks enforcing the law is prosecuting your own people is the problem. Your job isn't to play favorites. It's to prosecute criminals. If you do the crime, you do the time. I mean, it's really that simple. Public safety issue is not a racial issue, but the left, boy, do they love to frame it that way. And why? Because they're not on the side of protecting law-abiding citizens. They're on the side of protecting criminals based on skin color. And failing Mayor Brandon Johnson, he just looks the other way. Crime is skyrocketing, which, by the way, overwhelmingly impacts brown and black communities. And yet he claims there's nothing to see here, just a one-off incident.
My responsibility is to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. The investments that we are making are certainly moving us in that direction. This is an isolated incident. I mean, I don't see this as some sort of trend.
Not a trend? What about the 14-year-old boy shot and killed at a...
His reason for why he and so many Muslims have come to the UK. Then I actually ended up going inside this mosque and learned some things about it that I still can't believe. I'll show you after the interview.
Do you like this area, Whitechapel?
Yeah, because all our Muslim people live here.
Yeah.
And there is a mosque. We pray 5 times here.
Do you pray 5 times at this mosque or different ones?
Different mosques.
Yeah.
But when I come over here, there is a funeral every day.
There's a funeral every day?
Every day, yeah.
Why would you say that there are a lot of Muslim people in Whitechapel as opposed to other areas? Basically, why Whitechapel?
Yeah, it is what you call American way. Ghetto, because there's a facility for praying together.
There's a lot of mosques here.
Yeah, a lot of mosques. Plus all the food
Food.
Like
Halal?
halal, yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of halal, there's a lot of mosques.
And some, that's why children are teaching Islamic, I mean, religion.
Oh,
religious
can the
thing.
children learn Islamic things in the Whitechapel?
Yeah.
Are the schools teaching
No,
it?
I have the mosque. They have facility.
Oh, at the
to
mosque they teach these.
teaching.
Oh, okay. Islam is not compatible with the West. They worry about Islam. What is your response to that?
Because right wing, they're worried about any religions. Because right wing means they are very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
They want to live their
Yeah.
white people together.
They say, why don't Muslim people stay in their Muslim countries? Why do they come to the West? What is your response to that?
Yeah, Muslim country, no democracy. Because democracy is the main things.
Yeah.
Any human being, not a Muslim or any.
So you come for
agent.
democracy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Democracy mean their law and administration is good.
So the Muslim countries are not democracies, but I'm seeing that now there are a lot of Muslims being elected into parliament in the UK. Do you think that's a good idea? Or?
Yeah, it's a good idea to elect it. Because the democracy everywhere. Look at America or Europe. Where is the democracy? They are.
In America, we have
anyway.
democracy.
Yeah.
What do you think of Trump?
Trump is he's an honest man, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever he said, so he didn't hide anything. He's an honest right wing.
He's an honest right winger.
Yeah.
Y'all know how they scamming? The Somalian scam in Minnesota. They have one just like that in Maine. A Somalian Feed the Future scam, but in Maine. This Somalian man owned this company called Gateway Community Services, and he was overcharging Maine Care. Maine Care is Medicaid in Maine for services he did not provide. From 2015 to 2022, he was running this scam. He was taking millions of dollars from overcharging Medicaid in Maine and using it to fund a military group in Somalia while he was running for office in Somalia. But unsuccessfully, he didn't win, right? So these employees out him like they're whistleblowers. So from 2019 to 2024, the company have built Maine Care for a total of $28 million. The CEO name is Abdullah Hahi. Ali, that's his last name. But yeah, similar scam to what they're doing in Minnesota with the autism, with the Medicaid, is going on in Maine. I don't know why this isn't all over the news, but yeah, it's happening. And they have a lot of other scams just like this one in Maine with Somalians, but this is just the big one. This is the big one, 28 million so far.
You guys see this video from a Somali immigrant. He's telling us what's what.
iyo meel kasta wax soo galayeen baa loogu daatay dhalinyarada loo yaqaan meega ee loo soo gaabiyay Make America Great Again ee Team Trump ahaa ay kala bahdilay dagaalku ha socdo saas ha lagu wado Minnesota anaga iska leh Mareykan anaga iska leh.
Well, there you have it. They've taken Minnesota, and they're going to take out the rest of America too. And you have got to admire the confidence, right? That is a lot of bravado, especially when you consider that none of that confidence or bravado helped them to take Somalia. And just a quick tip here, sport: if you don't have what it takes to take out a couple of strung-out warlords, you do not want to dabble with rural America, because we got a lot of country boys and veterans that, quite frankly, they've been itching to get back into it.
Hey, y'all, there's drama in East Africa. The Kenyans are upset with the Somalis. They're saying the Somalis are ruining their reputation abroad all over the world because these Somalis have a Kenyan passport. Because if you could recall, a lot of that scam money in Minnesota went back to Kenya because that's where they flee to. The Somalis, as refugees, go to Kenya, and they don't even want the Somalis to come back to Kenya, the ones that get deported from here.
Ruto agrees to take the deported Somalis into Kenya. We are going to the streets. We do not want those motherfuckers in Kenya. They need to get deported to Somalia, Mogadishu, where they want to be. Ruto, you are warned. Do not try that at home. We will go to the streets.
So you heard her. Like, don't send them back to Kenya. But that ship didn't already sail. As pirates will say, that ship didn't already sail because now they're reviewing the status of the refugees from Kenya. So Kenya is getting a bad name because of all the Somali activity with the Kenyan passports, according to Kenyans. But that ship didn't sail, pirates. That ship didn't sail. The Kenyans want a delineation. They want to be delineated from the Somalis.
My biggest fear in life is that this man may never witness our full takeover. Yes, he may never witness that. He already witnessed our partial takeover, our little success in America. And he is the reason actually I know that the community in America is thriving. He is how I know. It's like, he's how we measure our progress. If he doesn't tweet, somebody messed up. I know it. Somebody fucked up the plan. If he tweet, I know. I know. We're doing the right things. Yes, that's how I know. So, he's old and sick, I know. He may not witness our full takeover, but I promise you that his sons will witness. Just like him, we came to exist in this country. See? The land of free men, the land of opportunities. And we're here. Yes. And we're not leaving, actually. We're not going back. What do you mean go back? You should go back first. You see, if you came first, you go first. See? Just like you. Tell me how you own this land. Explain to the world how this land became your land. Tell the world.
So I did a video that went viral, and it was basically a rant, and I was giving it from the perspective of a naturalized citizen, and I went all in on Ilhan Omar because I was tired of the falsehoods. She had made a statement talking about the fact that she's an American citizen and she can't be deported, but yet she had failed to make a distinction that there are two types of citizens, American citizens. There's natural born and naturalized, and I went ahead and gave the breakdown. If you check my page, you'll see the video. I've pinned it so it can provide you with more context. So the reason for this video is I wanted to kind of clap back on, one video that I had seen that has made its round on social media about a Somali woman who's going on social media ranting about the fact that she's not getting any support. Somalis are not getting support from, whether it's other fellow Africans or, Americans, because they go ahead and they help other people, but now that they need support and they need help, nobody's coming to their aid. Something to that effect, okay? So I want to respond to that, and I'm now talking from the perspective of an African, a Zambian, okay? But I'm talking in the context of an African. Somalis, let me tell you something about Somalis. Somalis are very self-centered group of people. When it comes to Africans, Somalis like to distance themselves from other African nations. And I'm sure I'll get a lot of other Africans in the comments who can vouch for what I'm saying. Time and time again, Somalis, when you tell them that they are Africans, they will quickly debunk that. They will tell you flat out, no, we're not Africans, we're Somalis. What? Are you kidding me? So they don't even want to claim that they are Africans. They will make that distinction and tell you that they are Somalis. But yet, Somalia is in the content of Africa. Okay. So what I've noticed about Somalis, and especially about the video that I had made, I had seen a lot of comments from other Somalis that came into my comments saying that, I was making all these comments. I should be ashamed of myself as a fellow African, why I'm not supporting our Somalia, our Somali sister. You're an African, but you're not supporting, you're talking down on her. So again, these people are making that distinction, calling themselves Somalis. They're not even saying our African sister. So they want to separate themselves. But yet, these people, if they don't have that support, if you don't support Somalis and you're on the total opposite spectrum in terms of your thinking, they call other Africans slaves. They're calling us monkeys. They're calling us all these disparaging words, all these other Africans disparaging words when we don't support them. And quick to say that they are not Africans, they are Somalis. But now they want to cry for not getting support from other African nations. Like, can you see the hypocrisy here? So Somalis want support from other Africans when it's best convenient for them. Now that they're going through a crisis because now they've been called out for the amount of fraud that they're committing in America and all these shenanigans, all these things that are going on. Now they're calling for other Africans to come to their aid. No, I'll tell you something. When it comes to Ilhan Omar, I don't even claim her as an African. Heck, I don't even claim her as an American because she doesn't act like one. She's not an American. She's only an American by title because she got her citizenship. But even that's in question. So when it comes to Somalis, I'll be damned if you're going to come to me saying that you need support from me because I'm an African when you talk dirty and low down and disparaging to other African nations when they don't side with you. I'm quite honest with you when it comes to Somalis. From my observation, when it comes to dealing with other Africans, they're not very inviting. They're not very welcoming. They like to exclude themselves. They don't want to include themselves when they see other fellow Africans, instead of being like, hey, let's see we're seeing another African person here, let's have that camaraderie. They don't want to do all that. They want to just stick to themselves. So no, I'm not going to support them just because they are in the continent of Africa and they are Africans, but yet they never want to call themselves Africans. They always want to call themselves Somalis. And quite frankly, I just don't feel like Somalis are a true representations of Africans as a whole, because a lot of African countries, we demonstrate the spirit of Ubuntu. We like that community. We take everybody in. Other African nations, when we see other Africans, we embrace each other. Especially when we're in foreign lands. When you come across Somalis in a foreign land and they see other Africans, they don't care. So I don't care about them. I'll be honest. That's why they don't have my support. And I'm not just going to be supporting, Somali just because they're from Africa. But, they don't want to include themselves as other Africans. Nah, sorry. I can't do it. They are very selfish people. They're not nice. They're not nice people. I haven't encountered any nice Somalian, They mean mug you when you look at them, when they hear that you're from Africa, instead of trying to be embracing. Nah, I'm over it. Somalis, you're on your own.
All right. So now we back at it, right? So my question is this, and I've got a few, but I'll start off with the individual that was being interviewed outside of the mosque. He said a few things that actually I found, I don't want to say alarming, but very, very interesting. One of those things is that they loved the fact that they were in England and they had the ability to have so many mosques and live their Islamic way of life. Some of them even talked about how they wanted Sharia law in their lands. But on the flip side of that, when you ask them why they've been immigrating all from their homelands and coming to Western countries, they all say it's because of democracy and because of the things that they're allowed to do that are not permissible in their homelands under the current form of government that they're subjected to. But then to the flip side of that, they come here, they run for public office, and then they lobby to create legislation to institute things such as Sharia law. So you left home because of the tenets of your religion that dictate how law is used to keep the people in subjection. You didn't like it. It was hard. It crashed the economy. It caused mass violence. So you fled to a Western nation to get there, and now you're trying to institute the same thing. What do you say? All right. So we switch to another lane, right, of this mind-numbing debacle of fuckery and debauchery. But then now you have the Somalis who, for whatever reason, are mad at Black Americans. You have some Africans feeling a certain way about Somalis because they don't consider themselves African, even though Somali is in Africa, but they are Arab. And then they talk about how they are the backbone of America. Well, you know me, and I understand that we live in an electromagnetic universe and mathematics dictates everything. So let's talk some numbers. So, according to statistics, the current Somali GDP is currently at 10.969 billion US dollars. That is for the country of Somalia as a whole. Now, the actual Somali people, which we know Minnesota has the largest population of Somali Americans. Now, Somalis in the US annually generate, Somalis have an estimated $8 billion impact on the state of Minnesota's economy, and it puts the GDP at roughly around 12 billion. So if the country you come from, we'll just give them at 10.969, we'll just take it up to 11 billion. But if your GDP of the country you fled is 11 billion and your GDP of the money that you generate in the United States is 12 billion, and they themselves admit that there is no production of anything in Somalia, and they have the highest remittance of any country on the planet, which means that everywhere their countrymen are in the diaspora, they are sending money home to take care of family. I'm not knocking that. I get it. However, you cannot, and I mean you cannot, say that you are the backbone of a country's economy and then tell the actual native people that have been there for generations upon generations, hundreds upon hundreds of years, some even for thousands of years, and then to tell those people that they have no culture and they don't know who their fathers are, when in your country, the government literally just tried to ban underage marriage, and the imams in the country lost their mind. You had grown men as old as 74 years old on the interwebs crying because they would no longer have access to the PPP loans. And for those that don't understand what that is the preference for prepubescence. Diabolical. If that's what you call culture, I don't want no parts of it. And what I find funny, though, is that all of these individuals that leave and then move to other lands and listen, you want to keep your culture, that's cool, but there should be some level of assimilation. But they say that they're here to take over. They say that they're here to make America the new Somalia. So what you're going to do is you're going to undo all the great work that we've done and turn this country into the country that you ran from. Is that not a pattern, ladies and gentlemen? Or am I tweaking? Or am I saying the quiet part out loud and things that we're not supposed to say? Because as we see with Minnesota's government and the investigations that's been going on, people within that structure themselves say that when they would ask questions about what's going on with the funds from within the Somali community, they were told saying anything about the Somalis was racist or xenophobic, and to be quiet and look the other way. And that's what they did. And where did that get them? Well, if we look at some numbers and figures again, well, it appears that there was one scandal during COVID for $250 million, which was supposed to be for feeding the hungry and the needy. But it seems like all that just went to feeding him and his family, indeed, because it ain't going nowhere else but into my man's pockets. But you know, That's what those of the high culture do. Because clearly, if they are a majority of them are all practicing a specific religion. The same ones that the imams that say that Black Americans don't know who their fathers are, because we're all the product of what? One night stands. Okay. But these are people that seem to have a habit of touching things that don't belong to them. But okay. On top of the 250 million, there has also been an estimated 1 billion that was siphoned from multiple federal programs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Then you have to add to that, there's also been found an estimated $1.7 trillion of money that was found to be siphoned off to Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda. So now we're funding terrorism with U.S. tax dollars. And everyone says, oh, something happens, don't worry about it. The state will take care of it. The Fed will take care of it. Well, guess who the state and the Fed are? Who funds the government? The tax dollars that come out of your check after your wages. Which means that if the state's got it, that means you got it. If the Fed's got it, that means you got it. You and I, we the people, have just been taken to the whip. Because I tell you what, that was one hell of a lick that I ever seen without a pistol or any other kind of weapon. And then they still walking around free. And when you ask where the house is at and the things that they bought with all the money, well, it's still in their possession. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And then to top it all off, what are Somali Americans doing? They're hopping on the internet and they're rage baiting, talking about Somalia was promised to them 3,000 years ago. That they are the people that are protected under the 14th Amendment, as if they're the descendants of American chattel slavery, as if they are Ados, as if they are Solon. Wow. But for some reason, there's a large portion of American blacks, there goes that misnomer again, who seem to like to sit back and act like this shit is okay. And then when you say something to them, they get mad at you for bringing to your attention the outright disrespect and just lack of fucking care for who you are, your lineage, or even your homeland. Because if you look around how some of these places look now, as in Minnesota and the Twin Cities and Dearborn, I don't know what else to say. I really don't. I don't know what else to say. But to the Somali community, if you think it's okay right now with everything going on in the climate in the country, and I've said it before, and someone from your community left a comment saying that you have no power, there's nothing that you can do. Okay, fair enough. But I'll tell you a pattern that I see. When this really first started, the first ones, who was it? It was the Venezuelans and the South Americans. And they all got online and said, black people can't help themselves. Get your popcorn, black people, and watch how the Mexicans do it. How'd that turn out? TPS gone. Then after that, we rolled across the Atlantic, right? To that continent with 54 countries on it. And they started saying what? You black Americans want to go to war? Eh? Yeah? You are Katas? Cutting Pecas doesn't know who the fuck you are. Yeah? You lazy bastards. Kidnapping and shit, holding women hostage and accosting them in hair braiding shops, ripping hair out of their heads, and just doing all kind of, again, diabolical shit. How'd that turn out? TBS gone. Now, here you guys come. And you're following the same pattern. Blatant disrespect for the people in 1965 built the bridge for you to walk across on and have a better life, so that during the 90s, after the whole Black Hawk Down and Mogadishu exercise, or should I say theater practice, went down, y'all were granted refugee status and given TPS. And what have you done? You've gotten here and seems like you are the captain now. I mean, clearly you took it from the water to the land, but you still on some pirate shit. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. And I'm not judging. But what we know to be as fact is that for a country that only has a GDP of $11 billion, and their countrymen who were here and are part of the diaspora that are sending money home are only generating $12 billion, but they have seats in Congress, Senate, elsewhere, where they get to make legislation to dictate how U.S. aid funds are used for NGOs, APACs, things of this nature. So what you're telling me is you have people such as Ilhan Omar, who is making sure that Somalia gets funding and aid through USA Aid, right? And what do they do with that? Well, you always hear about how these nations, how there's so much corruption that, let's say they're donated $5 million. By the time it gets to where it needs to get to, there may only be $500,000 left. But my point is this. They've already created legislation through USA Aid and all these NGOs to give Somalia money. Then on top of that, the Somali Americans have found ways to siphon money out of federal programs that were created for U.S. citizens to the tune of at least $1.7 trillion that we know of that has been transferred into the hands of Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda. So give you money and you steal it from yourself. The aid, you literally steal it from yourself. Then we mistakenly misusing our power, not reading the room and listening to what people have been saying to us in our faces since 1965. We vote for and support you after giving you an opportunity to a better life. You then find ways to siphon our tax dollars out of our communities to find ways to send it to your homeland and fund more bullshit. And then when you get caught, what do? You get on the interweb for the world to see and further violate Black Americans, but America in general. And you honestly think that we're going to continue to sit back and allow this shit to just rock? Yeah. It's a dirty game you're playing. It's a dirty game you're playing. And I'm telling you, you're not going to win. It's just not going to happen. We will not have it. No, we will not have it. So, I highly suggest y'all sit back and have long conversations with yourself and really look at the optics of what it is that's going on. I mean, just imagine again if 13% of the U.S. population just picked up and went to your homelands and is doing right now in your country the same things that you're doing here. You know what I think we should do? I think what America should start doing is, one, no one who is not a birthright citizen should be allowed to even hold public office. That's one. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because we see where that's gotten us up to this point, and it ain't nowhere good. Nowhere good. And if we don't get a hold on this fast, it may get a lot worse. But anyways, two, anyone that immigrates here, or anyone who's caught here illegally, or anyone who's immigrated here and has broken the law, and then has to go through the process of possibly losing their nationalized citizenship, whatever the law is in their homeland for illegal aliens when they're caught on their soil, that's the punishment that we should apply here. And whatever benefits that their homeland offers to people who show up without knocking on the door and slide through the window like this, we should offer the same thing to those people that their country and government would offer to our citizens if we did the same thing. And let's see how that turns out. Because I know most of you haven't even thought of that while you get out there and go, we need to go fight for the people who disrespect us time and time and time again. Diabolical. So we need to get out of this Stockholm syndrome that we're suffering from. And I know it's not all of us, but it's enough of us still to stop forward progress and upward mobility. So let's start having that conversation and let's start actually doing something about it, because everything is ours for the take. And like I said, we don't even realize how much power we actually have. Exercise it. Use it before you lose it. And on that note, I'm going to sign out. And remember, realize, and transparency forces accountability. Y'all keep your eyes to the stars and keep that head on a swivel, because they are playing the dangerous game. And we're going to send it back to Petty Murphy in the house studio. And welcome back to the house studio again, ladies and gentlemen. It is your man about town, Petty Murphy, reporting to you live from the back of the classroom here at Akata News Network. That again was our field reporter, Nap Turner, giving us his perspective on what's going on in Somaliland, aka the Twin Cities at this time. Is it rage bait? We don't know. But tune in next time when we talk about Ilhan Omar and her brother, who just may be her Somali sausage that she actually traded in for her new Hebrew national.